The massive hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with fear. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in their floating seats, all staring at the giant screen in the center. The same message kept playing over and over, and each time it played, the room got quieter. "This is Ambassador Velter of the Zephyrian Republic," the voice on the screen said. You could hear the fear in every word. "The Void Swarm has eaten our outer colonies. Billions of our people are dead. Our military is gone. We think we have maybe 72 hours before they reach our home planet." The image showed burning cities and dark clouds covering entire worlds. Ships the size of mountains were eating everything in their path. It looked like the end of everything. Council leader Mordok, a tall blue alien with 4 arms, hit his hammer on the desk so hard it cracked. "Everyone be quiet," he shouted. "We need to think clearly." But nobody was thinking clearly. Everyone was scared. "The swarm already destroyed the Keth Empire last month," said one representative, his voice shaking. "They had the strongest navy in the outer systems, gone in 3 days. And the Valorian Confederacy," added another. "They tried to fight with everything they had. It wasn't enough." "Our combined fleets can't stop this thing," Mordok said, looking defeated. "Every time we attack, it just gets stronger. It learns from our weapons and becomes immune to them." Deep underground, in the old archives that nobody visited anymore, an elderly Zephyrian named Ithwin was searching through ancient files. Her hands were shaking as she looked through documents that hadn't been opened in 200 years. Most of the files were boring old trade agreements, forgotten peace treaties, outdated star maps. Then she found something different, a file, marked with red warning symbols. The title made her stop breathing for a moment. "Emergency Contact, Sol System Deathworlders." The warnings were scary. "Do not activate unless facing total extinction. Species classified as Ultimate Death World Origin. Approach with extreme caution." Ithwin had heard stories about the Sol System, whispered tales about creatures so dangerous that the entire galaxy had agreed to lock them away in their own star system. Most people thought they were just myths, but her people were dying. Her grandchildren were probably already dead. With trembling fingers, she activated the ancient beacon. Somewhere in the darkness of space, a signal began traveling toward a small yellow star called Sol, toward a blue planet called Earth, toward humanity. 200 years ago, everything went wrong during humanity's first meeting with the Galactic Council. The humans thought it would be a friendly introduction. They were completely wrong. The meeting took place on a beautiful space station orbiting the galaxy's capital world. Hundreds of alien species had gathered to meet these new creatures from a small planet called Earth. Everyone was curious and excited. Human diplomat Jin Parks sat at the welcome table, smiling and trying to make friends. He looked harmless enough, just a regular guy in a nice suit. The aliens thought this would be easy. "Tell us about your home world," said Council Archivist Sekhmoth, a friendly creature that looked like a giant butterfly. "We love learning about new planets." "Oh, Earth is amazing," Jin said happily. "Beautiful blue oceans, green forests, wonderful mountains. Though it tries to kill us pretty regularly." The room got a little quieter. "Kill you?" asked another alien. "Well, you know how it is," Jin laughed. "Ice ages freeze everything for thousands of years. Volcanoes blow up entire continents. Asteroids smash into us and block out the sun. Diseases wipe out huge portions of the population. The usual stuff." The aliens stared at him. "In their worlds, the biggest danger might be a mild thunderstorm. Your species survived how many near-extinction events?" Sekhmoth whispered, his butterfly wings trembling. "Oh, at least 5 major ones," Jin said cheerfully, counting on his fingers. "The ice ages, the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, the volcanic winter, the plague years, the world wars. Maybe more if you count smaller stuff like tsunamis, earthquakes, And those times we almost blew ourselves up with nuclear weapons. An alien in the back row fainted. Others started backing away from Jin like he had a disease. Nuclear weapons? Someone squeaked. Yeah, we invented those about 100 years ago. Split the atom, you know? We dropped a couple on ourselves during a war. Nearly ended civilization, but we learned from it. The room erupted in terrified chattering. Aliens were pulling out their communication devices, calling their home worlds, warning their families. Within an hour, they held an emergency vote. The decision was unanimous and immediate. Humanity would be quarantined to their home system. A monitoring station would be built at the edge of their space to make sure they never left. The official classification was stamped in red letters. Ultimate Deathworld species approach with extreme caution. Jin Park never understood why nobody wanted to be friends anymore. The bridge of the UES? Harmony was dead silent as the alien message finished playing for the third time. Admiral J. Lee stood with his hands behind his back, staring out at the stars through the massive viewing window. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. But everyone was listening. For 200 years, humanity had been trapped in their own solar system like prisoners. The aliens had built a monitoring station right at the edge of their space, watching them constantly, making sure they never left. And now those same aliens were begging for help. Commander Kim, show me those numbers again, Jay said quietly. Commander Min Kim touched her screen, and holographic images filled the air above them. Sir, based on the data they sent us, this void swarm is eating entire planets in days. The consumption rate is incredible. It's like they were designed specifically to destroy everything in the galaxy. The images were terrifying. Worlds that had taken billions of years to form were being stripped down to nothing in less than a week. Cities, forests, oceans, all gone, consumed by these dark creatures that moved like a plague across space. How many species have they destroyed so far? Asked Lieutenant Bo Sung from the navigation station. At least 12 that we know of, Min replied. Billions of lives. Entire civilizations that existed for thousands of years, just ... gone. A new face appeared on the main screen. Captain Han Wu was calling from his destroyer, the UES Thunder. Behind him, you could see his crew getting ready for battle. Admiral, the fleet's been ready for this day, Han said with a grim smile. 200 ships, fully armed, and waiting. We've been preparing for this fight our whole lives. Jay nodded. Slowly. It was true. While the aliens had watched them from their monitoring station, humanity had been building ships, weapons, training soldiers. They knew that someday, something would threaten the galaxy, and when it did, Earth would be ready. You know. What's funny, Jay said to his bridge crew. The same aliens who locked us away like dangerous animals now need those dangerous animals to save them. He walked over to his communications officer. Send a signal to all ships. Tell them we jump. In 1 hour. After 2 centuries of being treated like monsters. Let's show the galaxy what monsters can do when they're fighting for something good. The crew smiled. Finally, humanity would show the stars what they were really made of. Space around the massive council station suddenly erupted with bright flashes of light. One by one, human ships appeared out of nowhere, materializing from hyperspace jumps, like ghosts, becoming real. The first ship was huge, then another, then dozens more. Within minutes, 200 human vessels surrounded the station, the aliens watching from their crystal observation. Dex had never seen anything like it. While alien ships looked like beautiful works of art, smooth curves, glowing crystals, elegant lines that seemed to dance through space, the human fleet looked like it had been built for war. Every ship was covered in thick armor plating. Weapon turrets stuck out at every angle. They didn't look pretty. They looked deadly. Captain Min Seo stood on the bridge of her escort ship, the UES Defiance. Through her window, she could see the alien council station, a gorgeous structure made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. It was beautiful, but fragile-looking. Her communications officer looked up. "Captain, we're getting a transmission from the aliens." "Put it through," Min said. A nervous alien voice filled the bridge. "Human vessels, this is Council Fleet Alpha. We're here to offer escort services through our space, for your safety." Min almost laughed. She looked out at the alien ships, trying to escort them. They were tiny compared to human vessels, and they looked like they were made of glass. Pretty glass, but still glass. "Negative. Council Alpha," Min replied calmly. "Our ships are rated for combat in asteroid fields during solar storms. We'll manage just fine." There was a long pause. The alien clearly didn't know what to say to that. On the alien flagship, Council Admiral Kekstar pressed his face against the viewing port, staring at the human fleet with wide eyes. He had 4 arms, and all of them were shaking. "By the void," he whispered to his aide. "What have we awakened?" The human ships moved through space like predators. They didn't glide gracefully like alien vessels. They moved with purpose, like sharks cutting through water. Each one looked like it could punch through a moon. Other aliens throughout the station were having similar reactions. They had called for help, but they hadn't expected this. The humans looked like they could conquer the entire galaxy if they wanted to, and now they were heading toward the most dangerous threat the galaxy had ever faced. When the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system, every person on every ship went silent. What they saw was beyond anything they had imagined. The planet Veltara was dying. Massive creatures, each one the size of a major city, were attached to its surface like giant leeches. They weren't just attacking the planet, they were eating it, literally consuming everything. Mountains, oceans, forests, cities, full of people. All of it was disappearing into these horrible biomechanical monsters around the dying planet. Smaller creatures swarmed like angry bees. Each one was still huge, maybe the size of a skyscraper, but they moved fast, stripping away chunks of land and carrying them back to the bigger creatures. They worked with terrifying efficiency. Admiral J. Lee stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display with Dr. Park High, the fleet's alien expert. She had studied every species in the galaxy, but her face was pale as she looked at the data. "Admiral, this is worse than we thought," she said quietly. "According to the survivors we rescued, these things adapt to every weapon used against them. The Zephyrians tried energy weapons first. The swarm learned to absorb energy. Then they tried missiles and bullets. The swarm grew armor. Even nuclear bombs just made them stronger." Jay nodded slowly. He had seen this before, but not in space. "Sounds like Earth," he said. "What do you mean?" "Evolution," Jay explained. "On our planet, when bacteria face antibiotics, they adapt. When animals face predators, they get faster or stronger. It's the same thing, just bigger." He paused, thinking. "But here's the question. How long has it been since these things fought a species that also evolved by surviving extinction events?" Dr. Park looked confused. "What are you getting at?" "They've been fighting civilized species, beings who learned to cooperate and build peaceful societies. But humans, we learned to survive by fighting everything that tried to kill us, including ourselves." Suddenly, Lieutenant Tay's voice crackled over the communications system from his scout ship. "Admiral, we've got a problem. The swarm has noticed us. The smaller units are breaking off from the planet. They're heading straight for us." Through the viewing window, they could see dark shapes moving toward them across space. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Each one looked hungry. "Well," Admiral J said calmly, "let's see how they handle prey that fights back." The first wave of void swarm creatures rushed toward the human fleet, expecting an easy victory. They had destroyed dozens of alien civilizations using the same tactics. But what happened next shocked every observer watching from the safety of distant ships. The humans didn't fight like anyone else in the galaxy. While alien species fought with honor, neat formations, elegant maneuvers, giving warnings before attacking, the humans fought like wild animals. But smart wild animals. Nuclear mines suddenly appeared in space, invisible until the swarm creatures flew into them. Massive explosions ripped through the enemy ranks. Before the swarm could adapt to the mines, human ships attacked from completely different angles using weapons the aliens had never seen before. Some human ships grabbed nearby asteroids with tractor beams and hurled them at incredible speeds. The rocks became missiles that hit with the force of nuclear bombs. Other ships worked together like a pack of wolves, surrounding single swarm creatures and tearing them apart from all sides at once. Commander Jamie watched the battle from her cruiser, the U's Predator. Her job was to coordinate the entire attack, and she was doing it with deadly precision. "All ships, remember your Darwin protocols," she broadcast to the fleet. "We're not just fighting them, we're removing their ability to adapt." The Darwin protocols were something only humans understood. Instead of just trying to kill the enemy, they were systematically destroying the swarm's ability to learn. Every time a swarm creature started to adapt to one weapon, the humans would switch to something completely different. They never gave the enemy time to evolve. The Void Swarm had spent thousands of years overwhelming civilized opponents. They would attack, the aliens would fight back with their standard weapons, and the swarm would quickly adapt and win. It was simple, and it always worked. But humans weren't civilized opponents. They were survivors from a planet that had tried to kill them for millions of years. Earth had taught them that there are no rules in a fight for survival. You use whatever works. You fight dirty. You never give your enemy a chance to recover. Human ships moved through space like sharks hunting in a school of fish. They didn't fly in pretty formations. They moved like predators, striking weak points with surgical precision, then disappearing before the enemy could fight back. For the first time in eons, the Void Swarm was confused. These creatures fought like the swarm itself, without mercy, without rules, and with only one goal: complete victory. The battle had been going on for hours, and for the first time in their existence, the Void Swarm was losing. Hundreds of their creatures floated dead in space, destroyed by human weapons they couldn't adapt to fast enough. The survivors were retreating, something they had never done before. But the swarm wasn't finished. As the human fleet pressed their attack, something terrifying began to happen. The remaining swarm creatures suddenly changed direction. Instead of fleeing into deep space, they turned toward the system's star, a massive yellow sun similar to Earth's. The creatures dove into the burning surface, like swimmers jumping into a lake. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star began to dim. "What are they doing?" asked Captain Wu from his destroyer. Dr. Parkai's voice was filled with horror as she read her instruments. "They're eating the star itself, consuming all that energy in mass. They're becoming something bigger." The aliens watching from distant observation ships panicked. Emergency broadcasts filled all communication channels. "The swarm is consuming stellar mass. Nothing can stop a creature that size." The star continued to shrink as the swarm creatures merged together, growing into something unimaginable. Soon, there was a single organism floating in space where the star used to be. It was bigger than planets, bigger than anything that had ever lived. On the bridge of the EU's Harmony, Admiral J. Lee watched calmly as readings showed the creature's impossible size. His crew looked terrified, but Jay just smiled. "All ships, prepare for Operation Last Stand," he announced. "Dr. Sunbow, is our special weapon ready?" Dr. Sunbow was the fleet's top physicist. Her voice came through the speakers, steady and confident despite what they were facing. "The artificial supernova generator is online, Admiral. We built it using data from Earth's Permian extinction event. The Permian extinction had happened 250 million years ago. On Earth, a massive disaster that killed 90% of all life on the planet. But life had survived. Humans had survived. You know what's funny? Admiral J said to his bridge crew. They think consuming a star makes them unstoppable. But on Earth, we survived worse than exploding stars. We survived cosmic radiation, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters that blocked out the sun for years. He looked at the massive creature growing in front of them. They want to play extinction games. Let's show them how Earth taught us to survive the impossible. The massive creature floating in space where the star used to be was bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. It pulsed with stolen energy, growing larger every second. Alien observers from distant ships were already sending final messages to their home worlds, certain that nothing could stop this monster. But the human fleet wasn't running away. Instead, they were doing something that looked completely insane. They were surrounding it. 200 human ships formed a perfect sphere around the giant creature, each one precisely positioned. From the outside, it looked like tiny ants surrounding an elephant. The aliens watching couldn't understand what the humans were thinking. Admiral J. Lee's voice echoed through every human ship. All vessels prepare to fire the gamma-ray burst generator. This is what we trained for. Captain Young Key stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Resilience, watching as his crew made final preparations. His weapons officer looked nervous. "Captain, are you sure this will work?" she asked. "It has to," Young replied. On Earth, gamma bursts from distant stars almost wiped out all life several times. But we survived. We learned. And now we're going to use that knowledge. The weapon they were about to fire wasn't like anything else in the galaxy. Other species built weapons to destroy ships or planets. Humans had built a weapon to create extinction events. Dr. Sun Bo had spent years studying the worst disasters in Earth's history. Asteroid impacts, volcanic supereruptions, ice ages, and cosmic radiation bursts that had killed most life on the planet. Then she figured out how to recreate them as weapons. All ships. Final countdown, Admiral J announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. Every human ship fired at exactly the same moment. But they weren't shooting at the creature. They were shooting at each other, creating a massive energy reaction in the space between them. All ships, braced for Captain Young, started to say. The artificial gamma-ray burst exploded with the power of a dying star. Pure cosmic radiation flooded the area. The same type of energy that had nearly sterilized Earth millions of years ago. The massive swarm. Creature didn't even have time to adapt. It simply ceased to exist. Vaporized instantly by radiation levels that could sterilize entire solar systems. The smaller swarm units that had been hiding throughout the system died just as quickly. These creatures had evolved to survive every weapon the galaxy could create, but they had never faced extinction-level cosmic forces. Then there was silence. Complete, absolute silence. After thousands of years of consuming civilizations across the galaxy, the Void Swarm was gone. 6 months after the Void Swarm's destruction, the Galactic Council had built new chambers. The old crystal structure had been beautiful, but fragile. The new building was different, stronger, more practical. It looked like the aliens had learned something from watching human ships. Admiral J. Lee walked into the Great Hall, and the effect was immediate. Hundreds of alien representatives fell silent. Some stared at him with wonder, others with barely hidden fear. These were the same beings who had locked humanity away for 2 centuries, calling them too dangerous to be trusted. Now they knew they had been right about the dangerous part. Jay wore a simple uniform, no medals, no fancy decorations. He didn't need them. Everyone in the galaxy had seen what his fleet could do. The footage of the artificial gamma-ray burst was playing on news, broadcasts across thousands of worlds. Council leader Mordock stood up, his forearms trembling slightly. Admiral Lee, on behalf of the Galactic Council, We want to thank you for saving us all. Jay nodded politely. You're welcome. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally, Mordok asked the question everyone was thinking. What? What do you want from us? Jay looked around the room at all the alien faces watching him. Some looked grateful, others terrified, many just confused. What we've always wanted, he said simply. To be part of the galactic community. To make friends. To share knowledge and explore the universe together. Relief flooded through the chamber. But Jay wasn't finished. We never wanted to conquer anyone, he continued. Earth taught us that survival requires cooperation. Working together makes everyone stronger. But Earth also taught us what happens when peaceful solutions fail. The room got quiet again. You called us ultimate Deathworlders and locked us away because you were afraid. You were right to be afraid, not because we wanted to hurt you, but because we're very good at surviving. And sometimes, survival means fighting. He paused, letting that sink in. But now you know, if the galaxy faces extinction again, if something threatens innocent people, the ultimate Deathworlders will answer, not as conquerors, but as protectors. As Jay spoke, human ships were taking positions throughout Council space, not as invaders, but as guardians. The aliens finally understood what Earth had created, not just survivors, but protectors forged by a world that never made anything easy. Humanity had come home,